They say life is what you make it. Well, I'm a legend in the making. I know just what I'm made of. Oh. They say life is what you make it. Yeah.
Whew, I'm just saying. Oh, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Words was saying, they said life is what you make it. I'm a legend in the making. Anyway, we got Miss Kaylin Risker Fahie. Mrs. Kaylin Risker Fahie on the show. We've been trying to get you on for a while. She's born and raised from the D. She is a founding creator of SAFE, and she's going to tell you what that is. And the show for today is about when safe isn't safe. So we're glad to have her on to talk with us about it. And we're going to let Kalyn tell us something about herself. And we're going to turn it over to her. Thank you, Quan. Thank you, Sharif, for being with me. Let's jump into this. This is a serious subject. Thank you. Go ahead. They tell me real quick how kind they are.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I have people say, well, you know, she's from Detroit. She's a very nice person. That comes after she's from Detroit. You know what I mean?
What it is here's how I explain it to people. I say we have that Midwestern charm that comes from the South, because remember the migration of people from the South that came to Detroit for the automotive industry. So we got that Midwestern Southern charm. It's a lot of sweet with a little tang to it. That's how we got it. So real sweet, but we got a little tang to it.
Got you. Because I know I truly have heard that, and I hear people say, oh, you're going to like her.
Just don't mess with her.
When I hear it that way, trust me, it's like I'm from the D. I had someone say they had the pleasure of interviewing Keith Washington. They say he made that statement. Don't get it twisted now, because I sing these love songs. I'm from the D. So I just wanted to make sure
I say that at least once a week.
Oh, good. so now we know. See, we can't say it, you know. It's probably like me telling somebody, I'm gonna give you a country ass whipping.
Right.
Yeah. So listen, Mike, everybody, make sure that I'm heard, okay? Because I don't want to be sounding too low. So Mike, make sure that I'm heard, because they're saying I'm a little low, and I want to make sure that they can hear me clearly. We are talking with Miss Kaylin Risker Fahie. And Kalyn, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, born and raised in Detroit. While I'm here on the show, I've done a lot of work in regards to domestic violence. So back in 1998, I had been in a 7-year relationship that ended violently Labor Day weekend. My oldest daughter's father assaulted me, and he actually shattered my left eye socket, which he shattered the socket, the bone around my several fractures in my skull, and I had to get a titanium implant to replace the bone. So it was really hard for me in all the ways that you can imagine. I have a daughter. I'm by myself. I'm trying to figure it all out. Mentally, emotionally, physically, had to get surgeries. And I just didn't know what to do. At that moment, when I went into the emergency room, I realized that I was actually a victim of domestic violence. Prior to that, because let's set the stage a little bit. So 1994 was the Violence Against Women Act had went into law in the United States to say that it was against the law for you to beat your intimate partner. So this happened to me only 4 years later. So there wasn't a lot of resources or programs, or, there wasn't a lot in place. At that time, the advertising that was done would be, you would see a poster with a woman with a black eye. So now I have a black eye, so I'm connecting with that. And I'm like, okay, let me call the national hotline. I called the national hotline, and they gave me a number for a program in a suburb that was not close to Detroit at all. And I said, again, it's me from Detroit. Did you hear what I just said? I said I'm from Detroit. Why are you all the way over there? This is a big city. You don't have anything in Detroit. And they were like, no, we don't. If you want services, you have to go. And I had got a ride because I had double vision for the longest. I couldn't see and I'm just going to try to get counseling service for myself and my daughter, trying to see what programs, what resources I could get. And I remember I was in pain. I'm in the car, and I was thinking, what does a person do if they can't get a ride? How do they get here? You know? And that was when I was going through it. And then I kind of pushed all that to the side and was just focused on, just basically restoration, getting me and myself together, my daughter, and, trying to work it all out. And my doctor wouldn't give me a return to work note.
What?
Because I had double vision. I wasn't prepared to go back to work. At the time, I was kind of like an emergency operator for the hospital, like we called the code blues and the code reds in the hospital. So you need somebody to be able to see. That was a very important job. But I needed to work. My car had got repossessed, and my utilities was threatening to get cut off because I had been off work for so long because of surgery. So I made an executive decision to get a new job. This is 1998, a whole different job market. And I'm like, if I get a new job, they won't ask me for a return to work, a doctor's note, right? So I just got me a new job, and I started working for this payroll company. So I started messing up people's checks because I had.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at what you saying. Keep talking. It's just you being from the D and you messing up folks' money.
Oh no.
Exactly. So I'm messing up checks, adding zeros, subtracting zeros. I had double vision. I couldn't see. So they called me in the carpet and they were like, maybe we started you off too aggressively. We're going to give you a demotion where you can learn some stuff. And I just sat there and took it, and I didn't tell them what happened to me. I didn't tell them what was wrong with me. I was so scared of the victim blaming. I didn't know that word at the time, but I didn't want them to look at me like I was stupid or that I couldn't handle the job. I didn't want all of those issues. So I didn't say anything, even though it could have helped me, right? So I ended up getting better and stronger, ended up liking the work, ended up going into human resources. And as I worked in human resources and in different companies, I interacted with people and I saw how domestic violence affected themselves, how it affected the company, how it affected their coworkers. And one day, an employee, I was writing her up for low productivity, and she said, you know what? I know you wouldn't understand. This would never happen to you, but this is what happened to me. And I said, well, actually, it did happen to me. And after she left, I thought about, like, why would she think that I couldn't be a domestic violence person? Because I didn't look like it, because at that time I had a good job, So I went home, and God gave me a plan for a nonprofit organization. I wrote it down. I was like, oh, this look good. Maybe one day when I grow up to be like Oprah, I'll fund this, but I'm not thinking about no nonprofit. I put it to the side. A while later, God brought it back like, no, you need to start this nonprofit organization. And that was Sisters Acquiring Financial Empowerment. I started it in April 2006. And the work is specifically around helping survivors of domestic violence overcome economic abuse. And we could talk about that a little bit more. But in that work, I started in 2006. SAFE still continues in Detroit. We did all kind of outreach events, major things. I've been blessed to do a lot of speaking and training on a national level, as well as, I've then went on to do some things on an international level, which has been really awesome. And in 2016, I just moved to St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. So I'm currently here in the Virgin Islands doing work with the Virgin Islands Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council, and SAFE still continues to work in Detroit.
Wow. Now, you started this in 2006.
Correct.
Man, that must have took some work.
Woo! Woo! A lot of work, a lot of faith, and not a lot of money. I literally did it from 2006 to 2016. Even today, with no pay. I never got paid from the organization like that. With all this, we helped thousands of people. We had these annual events that brought 1,000 people in. Whole Foods donated 1,000 lunches. We had health screens and workshops. Everybody and it was all around domestic violence awareness. We had all type of events and outreach and training, and successfully help survivors of domestic violence to reach their goals. What's amazing, the thing that touches me the most are the survivors who went through our program are doing so much better. Their children are doing so much better. And then they'll turn around and say, I want to sponsor or help someone else who's going through that situation. And that just really touches me. But yeah, I had to hustle. Like, that's where I was doing the consulting and the speaking and all the other stuff, because at the time I was a single mom with 2 kids in Detroit, homeowner, car, all the other stuff, red line insurance.
Yeah.
Other,
I get what you're saying. Things that don't understand. I'm trying to do an organization. I'm having trouble paying you right now.
And I was the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Like, I was doing the training, I was writing the grants, I was doing this, that. I never could, get enough to write myself into a grant, but I was hustling at a high rate. And, it didn't go for naught. People understood. I do believe that we helped to change the conversation around domestic violence, and so that people in Detroit and beyond would look at some of the other aspects in addition to the physical part. And so my mantra, the big part that I've been focusing on for over 5 years now, my personal thing that I like to impress upon people is compassion. So that's where I'm at now. So I want survivors or victims to be compassionate for themselves and their experience and not blame themselves. And I would like the community to be compassionate for other people. I just hear, people said some real crazy stuff to me. I'm about 5'10", and I'm thick, and so I was speaking somewhere and was talking about my experience, and these 2 guys came up. They said, "We just got a question for you." I said, "Okay." They're like, "He must have been real big because you're real big." Real rude. I'm from Detroit.
Yeah.
But people that just say all kind of crazy stuff. So I'm a professional who do this work, so I can manage, navigate. I went through my own healing process, and it's faith-based as well as counselors. But you can only imagine the type of things that somebody who, when you're going through it, everything's raw, fresh, the emotions, the healing isn't there. And these might people actually close to you that might say some things that, might be insensitive. Like, well, what did you do to the person?
Yeah.
We're grown people. How can I make somebody shoot me, for example? Everybody who gets mad or frustrated doesn't use physical violence. The same person who abuses their spouse is not the same person who goes to work and abuses everybody.
You're right. People don't see it. They hide it well. You're right, without a doubt. Cherie, I know you ready.
I believe compassion is a good thing. I just wanted to thank you for sharing. I know that my experience with domestic violence is personal. I used to be a prosecutor of domestic violence, and I have not only been a witness, but I've been a direct victim. And what is strange to me even now in my life, so many years later, is to realize how embarrassed I was to be able to say that, and to recognize that what had happened to me is happening to people all over this world. It is not a sign of love, and that, I am lucky in the sense that I escaped. But, my abuser took me to a foreign country, took my money and my passport, and said, "You're never going home again unless you do what I say." And he physically assaulted me in that other country. And so it has changed the way I have approached my travel, my relationship. Even now, I'm happily married with 2 kids. And it really struck me when you said that person looked at you and said, "No one would ever think that you would have been a victim of domestic violence." And so I say this to say you are not alone. Anybody out there who's going through, who's listening now, You may look at me and say, she's from, her father was a doctor and her family's still married. She went to medical school, law school. She's running for judge. She's this, she's that. You know what? It does not have a political party. It does not have an age. It does not have a race. It is a symptom. You know, we can talk about the causes and effects about it, but I wanted to learn more about your focus on economic empowerment. Why was that so important to you when you were developing your nonprofit?
So it was a couple of things. So it was a pivotal moment when that person had came into the office that time, and then right before, like a couple of days before that, I had got a resume from a woman. And she called and she said, did you get my resume? And I was like, yeah, it was trash. But I didn't tell that to her. But I said, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, I said, yeah, I got it. And she was like, I know it looks bad. It's a lot of jobs, short work history, but I'm desperate. I'm in this situation and I'm trying to get my own place. I'll do anything. You want me to clean toilets, whatever. I need to get some money so I can get out of the situation. So I said, you know what? Okay, I'll get your file. I'm thinking like out the trash. Let me get your file and let me see what I can do. And so, you know, it was her experience plus the other one, and then my own personal experience. And I went home and I sat down. It was just like, when I tell you that God gave me like the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, economic empowerment. And what's so perfect about the whole situation was the conversation around economic empowerment didn't even happen broadly till a little bit later. And so I was fortunate to be like in the beginning of the conversation. And I remember going to some county meetings, domestic violence, family violence meetings with the police and Wayne County, which is of Detroit area. And it was a person who came to me and they said, honey, why are you focusing on just a specialized area? You need to do more comprehensive services like everybody else and focus. And I'm like, no, because this is my area. My background, I had went back to school after the assault, after I had started the payroll job and I really liked it. I actually went back to school. I ended up getting a scholarship, and this is a really good resource for anybody out there. It's called the Women's Independent Scholarship Program, and it's WISP. Okay. And this particular scholarship is funded by Doris Buffett, who is Warren Buffett's sister. She went to a brunch about economic abuse and was like, hey, maybe the way I can help is to help women get education so that could position them to get better jobs. So they actually helped me with my undergrad and my grad school. And so both of those are in business administration, human resource management. So on the human resource side, I saw how domestic violence affected victims at my workplace, where the checks were getting garnished, and you know, just it was like a snowball effect of things that affected them financially. I mean, even somebody like keying your car, slashing your tires affects you financially, where you're coming to the office, to the payroll office, the human resource office, asking for an advance on your check so you can handle that. So just seeing how it all like kind of tied in together. And when I first started, I remember like this because the company that I was working for actually ended up closing. I was laid off, and I had just bought a house, and I was at home, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to start this business thing, but I don't have anything. And I literally looked at my hands and was like, okay, what do I have with my hands that I could work with? And so at the time when I started, 2006, was a different job market. And the survivors then were like, we need help looking for work. So those were the first services that I offered with SAFE, was resume writing. Like, how do you make your resume look smoother when you've had all these gaps and things like that? How do you focus more on your skills? And also interviewing skills. Because the thing about the resume and the mock interview is when you're being mentally and emotionally abused, you've been told you're worthless, you don't mean nothing, you ain't nothing, your mama don't like you, daddy don't like you, dog don't like you, then how do you project it to I'm a competent employer, a potential employee for your company, and I have all these skills. And a resume is basically a bragging sheet, right?
Yes,
like,
it is.
I've accomplished all these things, and I'm going to be this great employee for your company. And you go in and you interview, and you have to look people in the eye and project yourself, but you've been told that you ain't nothing for years, maybe. So how do you feel better about yourself? So doing the resume and the mock interviews and those processes were actually a piece. And a lot of people, I don't think they even still get that, but that was my thought process when I was doing it. That was a piece of the healing and the restoration. It was like another form of therapy for a survivor, in my opinion. It was a survivor who I did a mock interview with, and I looked at her resume. That was actually like the Department of Labor had helped her do. But I looked at her resume, and it said I worked. She was like the dates, worked for Burger King, address, and it was one sentence: I cooked the food. And I looked at her. I said, "What?" I said, "What happened? Did they fire you? Were you stealing?" She was like, "No. Why would you say that?" And I'm like, because it looked like you had something. She was like, I said, "Tell me more about like what you did at Burger King so I can see what's going on." So she told me all the stuff she did, how she closed, opened, time sheets, all kind of stuff. And then, but I had to pull it out of her like cornflake by cornflake. And then she said, "And I never missed a day, and I was on time every day." And I was like, "What? I can never say that." That should have been the first thing.
That's a cheers to that.
She said, "You should have led with that." I have never missed a day, and I always been on time.
Exactly. And so once I finished hyping her up, but truthfully, like, that's amazing, she now at first she was slumped over, she wasn't looking me in the eye, and then at the end of the process she's looking at me in the eye, she's smiling, she's feeling better about herself, like, I work for Burger King, but I actually accomplished something. I'm like, honestly, you mean a lot to me. I love them croissant sandwiches. Come in the morning, I need that.
Let me that sandwich to go.
You are making a contribution.
Girl, the Whopper.
You know what I'm saying? I like my cut in half.
Yes.
Kaylin,
Yeah.
can you give some examples of what you've seen as examples of abuse that don't, her father didn't start with your eye, just like my abuser didn't start getting me to leave the country, not telling anybody where I was, and then and as I look back now, and I've learned about the cycle of violence as a prosecutor and also as a victim, and what would you say are some examples of abuse that are even economic that women won't recognize?
Great question, Cherie. Great question.
So that is a good question. There are a lot of red flags. There are so many that sometimes the red flags blur even between, does this person really care about me? Like, I'm not sure. And so, because there's so many, like, I could say some and, some people might connect with them and some won't. But I always say, if you aren't sure, just talk to somebody. It doesn't hurt to talk to somebody like from the National Network to End Domestic Violence, or the National Hotline, the National Domestic Hotline, or one of your local programs, just to kind of bounce it off. Because something like, they don't let you wear certain things. You're like, okay, well, that could be a concern. It could be, maybe they're just a little jealous, and not in an unhealthy kind of way. Or maybe it's just straight up control, They're concerned about some of the people that I talk to and who I don't talk to. Maybe it's concern. Maybe that person is a toxic person. Or maybe they're just trying to isolate you and keep you away from anybody who could possibly help you to get out of this situation. Somebody who's talking sense, who recognize the red. They don't want that person to illuminate the victim and say, hey, you are with an abuser. So in my situation, You're absolutely right. So what happened was, this is really interesting. So I'm new to the work in 2006, and I'm helping women, and I'm doing this HR first. Then we started adding on additional components, the budgeting, the finance. Once we got financial people, and I started getting trained, then we started adding additional programs. When we first started, like I was talking about, I was learning the domestic violence specific terminology and things of that nature. And so I would go out and do presentations. And people would ask me, like, well, was that the first time? And I was like, yes, that was the first time he did anything. I was completely surprised. And then as I learned more, even my presentation started getting better. Like, no, actually, what about that one time he threw that brick through your mama window? And the other time he burnt up all my clothes. But I had to even learn that back then, that it's not just the physical part. And what does it actually look like could look very different to a lot of people. There are many women that I've worked with that are walking around with concussions still, with all kind of physical problems, but there's so many with the mental and the emotional and the mind games and the gaslighting and all those things that you're like, well, I'm not sure, and that's where, ask a professional. You want to talk to a friend or a family. You feel like you don't want to be embarrassed, but the professionals are confidential. They don't tell you. And now all these websites, even sites, I would really encourage people to look at the site for teens as well.
Okay, for the teenagers.
So, I want to get into that about the teenagers. That's a whole nother thing. Right now, this conversation, I thank you for having me on the show, is so important with people being sequestered in their homes. Is so serious. And so now it's the additional layer of a red flag, whereas I don't want you to go, I don't want you to communicate with people, because I'm trying to protect you and your health.
Yeah, that would be it. I was going to ask you that question, so please continue, because my question was going to be, what can these people, is there anything that can be done right now? Because you just hit it. They can say it won't show as much because it's like, I'm concerned. Or do you see all these people dying out here? And you don't need to go over here because you don't know who they have at their house. You might catch it. Right. So come on, please give us something. Because these people are enclosed. I don't even want you to go to the grocery store. I don't want you to do this. Who knows, how deep this thing can actually go with different people. I mean, because there's survivors I have met who have to produce a receipt when they go to the store. And the time of the receipt, the time that you was in the store is on there, how much you had, how much change you're on there. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. That's more common than you know, actually.
And I'm not trying to sound shocked. I mean, you see this stuff on TV, but sometimes
that's real.
But it's a form of control. It's a form where honestly, and like I said, a lot of people, whether if it's man or woman, they need that form of control because they don't have it within their own lives.
Right.
Or they're trying to control something because they're feeling insecure about something. They're masking one emotion with another. And that's where it becomes abuse because they're self-inflicting. So rather than trying to gain the advice, gain the thing that you need, I'm going to abuse others. Hurt people, hurt others, as they would say.
Well, Kaylin, have you found that, I know you don't try to, but sometimes it's good to know the psyche, and you've been studying it for years. The only reason I'm asking this question. Do you find that, is it mostly insecurity with the abuser?
So with the abuser, let's talk about what is domestic violence. So I would not say that it's insecurity because those same people, oftentimes, if you think of people that that have been accused of being abusive or have been charged with being abusive, they tend to be more like the charming type. Right. So they're not necessarily the insecure type. They're the ones that can charm not just the victim, but even their coworkers. Like, oh no. And that's why you see people on the news defending like, no, not that person because they're so nice and they're so sweet, is what they tend to be. So let's talk about what is domestic violence. So you did a great job, Quan. It is about power and control. It's not about love. It's not about lust. It's not about somebody snapped. It's not about somebody just went crazy. Because power and control is a system of power and control over time. Like I'm trying to get power and control over a person. It's not a one-time situation. And like the judge said, that if you look at the situation, you'll see some signs, but usually it's looking back like, you know what, that was a sign. I didn't see it at the time. That's why it's so important to have these conversations to enlighten people that, wait, that might be one, because I didn't know. At the time I was going through it back in 1998, my friends didn't have that kind of language to assist me. So it was just like, he's crazy, you know? And I was like, well, yeah, he said he was bipolar. Now keep in mind, he never went to a doctor or anything. He self-diagnosed himself. And that was just a way again to control me. You know, like, well, you know, I got a problem, but nobody told you you had a problem, you know? And so I'm like, oh, there's something wrong. Let me try to help you. Anyway, so domestic violence is about power and control, and one person wishing to have complete power and control and domination over another person. They actually want to be like a god in the victim's life. They want to be omnipotent. I know everything. I know where you at. They want to be omnipresent. Like, I see you. I got eyes everywhere. I got eyes on the streets. I got eyes in the police office. I got eyes in wherever, you know. They want to just have that total control over the one person, which is completely. So that's what domestic violence is. And that could be, anybody can be an abuser or a victim of any age. You know, there are a lot of marginalized communities that people don't talk about a lot that are also going through domestic violence. And I think about them during this COVID-19 time. And that would be elderly people. There are a lot of grandparents who have been in a domestic violence situation. Probably might even knew that they was in, like, oh, they used to fight 30 years ago, but now they all old and they can't fight anymore. They can't fight anymore, but the emotional abuse is still there. The mental abuse is still there. One person is withholding somebody's medication and not giving it to them when they need to. They're putting salt in their food. I mean, whatever. It's just all these different things. The abuse is still, you just think, oh, cute, grandparents been together 50 years, but it's been toxic all these years. Also, people that have physical challenges or mental challenge, the disabled community, before COVID, they were already at a 400% times higher chance of being in a domestic violence situation. So looking at the psychology of an abuser being a predator who is wishing to have power and control over someone, they feel like someone with a challenge might be easier to control. So they go for that, which is horrific.
Wow.
And so now they're in a situation in a home with those type of people. Then our teenagers, we might feel like, okay, well, my teenagers are under my house. I got my eye on them. Nothing happening to them. They getting texts, inboxes, all kind of messages, video chats, saying what you doing. I know you're not talking to this person. You better not do this. Be in control under your own house. See, back in the day, I'm old, so I'll tell you. Back in the day, we had a phone in the kitchen with a long cord.
Yep.
And I would stretch the cord to the living room and be on the phone. And my mom would be in the kitchen cooking, and I'm thinking she busy, and I'm having a conversation. And then she pop up in the living room like, "What y'all talking about?" Right? Because she could hear my voice, she could hear my inflection, she could tell if something was amiss.
Yeah.
Now, silent and silently texting, you don't get those clues or indicators to know what's going on with your child. So it's really important that we talk to our kids. It's important that we know that there's a resource. It's a national teen dating violence hotline called loveisrespect.org. And they actually have a chat or text feature just to let the kids know what's out there. You know, schools are closed, but this would be a good opportunity for teachers to look at the website. There's a lot of resources for teachers, parents, educators to know what the signs are, how to support teenagers. I think that's so important because that's the hot age.
And where is that site again, Kaylin? Make sure everybody hears that site.
It's loveisrespect.org. O-R-G.
Okay, I'll make sure Mike and I have it too at the end of the show where people can see it, because we want to make sure that that's her, because you're right. We don't have what we used to have. If you want to say you old, I'm old too. And I remember having to pull the phone and even put it under the cover with me. And then, yes, and still had, and I had the grandmother, great grandmother, and great great grandmother. And they, what you doing under there? And if I sounded funny on the phone, what you mumbling for? You know what I mean? And they used to watch, you know, because the guy used to come to the door and all of that. And my grandmother and mother would know if I had an argument with my boyfriend. If he brought me home and, you know, I got out of the car and slammed the door and ran up to the door, and she'd be at that door, quick. And if he tried to follow behind me, where you going? You know what I mean? And I'd be like, I'm defensive. Don't defend. I saw you slam that door, so I just want to make sure he know what's going on. But nowadays, things that are happening, so much technology, we have lost. You know, we've lost that connection of really knowing what's going on.
That human touch.
Yeah, that's needed, and some parents really, you need to hammer that home, Kaylin, with the parents, because as they approach this age, because you know the violence starts with a guy young. You know what I mean? Because I remember a couple of friends who the boyfriend was fighting them when we were like 15. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I mean? And the guy was a fighter. So. And fortunately, back then, like I said, it was a tad bit different, but not really. But like when I saw that you started when you did the whole foundation, created it, everything. My question to you when we had our call was, that had to be hard, because when you're going up against men and they tend to protect each other, it's just the truth. How did you get this accomplished? You know, because
I'll answer that. So I first want to put the disclaimer before everybody beats us over the head. Mm-hmm. Yes, domestic violence does affect men as well. The statistics are that 98% of all cases are of men abusing women. So that's why we usually talk about it in those terms. But up until this point, I've been very neutral with my conversation. Just wanted to kind of put it out there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there has been instances where I have, you know, tried to talk to different people about domestic violence, people of influence, and they weren't open to the conversation. And, you know, I would learn later through the news or whatnot that they were having a situation themselves. So it can be like that. Now, how did I navigate the spaces that I did? It's kind of like a multi-level thing. So it's partially my weakness was also my strength. So the fact that we did not have a lot of funding was actually a strength, because I wasn't beholden to anybody. Like, I didn't feel like I had to shut up or, you know, play the game, because nobody's paying me anyway. And that's how I felt. Yeah. So I was very open and like that. The other thing was that at that time, with Obama being in office, Joe Biden was actually, and John Conyers from Detroit were one of the signers on the Violence Against Women Act, the National Act of 1994.
Yes, they were.
So at that time that I really was doing a lot of work on the national level, there was a czar against violence against women in the White House. There was task force committees, like that was a priority area, and all of that has since been, you know, not as priority. Mm-hmm. But at the time, that was a priority area. So I was able, and that's how Essence Magazine was, Valerie Jarrett was doing the article. She actually interviewed me for the article in Essence. So it was just that particular administration fostered the conversation and supported the work. So that really helped me to have a voice at that time.
And thank God that took place, so that you were able to do the things that you've done and are still getting accomplished. Like you said, God was talking with you and you were listening. And I always tell people, if you're going to fulfill a divine purpose, as Yolanda Adams' song say, you got to answer when you call. It's a difference. You heard the call and you answered, which makes a difference, and it's changed the lives of a lot of women and men and people that are in this situation. Now, working like you have, and you're working, have you had to help any children?
Yes, you know, and so I personally wouldn't help the children, but this is where I would collaborate. I had a lot of collaborative and working relationship partners. A working relationship with other organizations that specifically work with children, But it would be a situation where a mom would come and seek the services for herself, and then through her story, she would tell me how her child was also abused.
Okay.
It would even be situations where we had to, this is a word that I really wanted to make sure that everybody knows, to look up on the websites that I was telling you how to get a safety plan. Because right now you really do need a safety plan.
Let me get my pen, because see, I might need a safety plan. No. But no, I'm laughing and light because, but I want to make sure I can help someone. So everybody.
So looking up so doing a safety plan, and so in safety planning, it would also be working with the children, because sometimes the children would be used in these situations, threaten to harm the children. Like, well, if you leave, I'm gonna do something to our kids. So children, or I'm gonna take the kids from you. So children would be a big part of the conversation. Oftentimes the children would be the motivation for the victim to come for help. Like, I need to do better. My child saw something horrific, or I just want to be a better example for my child, or I want to be able to provide for my child. So the children would be a big motivator in the conversation.
Wow. So not only for the children are they have, if they're in the situation with the parent and the mom and dad, then also then they are used in that situation as well.
Right.
So now with, like, again, with what we have going on, and we're dealing with a pandemic, do you have any advice? I mean, because we know what they can use. We've discussed that, the signs and things they would say. And that would probably be like the things you're giving as signs are the start of the abuse. You know what I mean? I don't want you to go anywhere. I don't want you to, and before it gets to, but now we probably, honestly, if the domestic violence rate has went up, we have people that are living in it and have no escape. Kaylin, what can they do? I mean, I know
a couple of things they can.
Can I also add in there as well? Can you also even go into the PTSD form of domestic violence, and how even that is a part of the post-traumatic syndrome as well? I remember in the research of looking you up, you were also in development of that as well.
So definitely post-traumatic stress is a huge byproduct of being, I mean, it's just like with this pandemic, the longer that we're in it, and the longer we hear about the deaths and other people dying, I personally have lost 4 friends. Detroit, has really been hit hard with COVID-19. So the longer it does start to affect you. So you're in it, you kind of got wired about, I'm not anything, I've been told I'm stupid. And now it takes a while. So this is where grace, mercy, and the compassion part comes in.
Okay.
And so even when you can be, depending on how long you're in it so long that it actually becomes normalized behavior. So all of these things are why it's so important. I talk about the teens because I really want to break the cycle as well. But it's important for those that are not in abusive relationships to be an example, and to talk to both the girls and the boys. So not just talk to the girls, don't be a victim, but the girls and the boys about healthy relationships, what a healthy relationship looks like, But doing trauma-informed work is a really important part of the work that I do. So trauma, post-traumatic stress, culturally specific work, even in the African-American community, sometimes we don't what are we doing culturally? We have our own cultural practices and things that speak to us, that what we could talk about to each other that we can't, is challenging for us to talk about to other people. So offering programs like that, and a voice and a way that somebody can just tell their story the way it is without being judged is important as far as moving forward. But how do people access all that when you're in the same space with your abuser? I will say it's challenging. It would be challenging I wouldn't want anyone to do anything that will further compromise their safety or escalate the situation. So number one, do not tell the person that you're thinking about leaving. Because sometimes you could just be angry and you're tired, you're fed up, you're like, that's why I'm leaving. Domestic violence is about power and control. So at the point that the abuser feels that they're losing the power and control over you is the point where things will escalate dramatically. So we want you to be safe. We want you to be savvy. I'll give you the websites again. The hotline.org is the national hotline for domestic violence.
Okay.
And that particular hotline, they have a chat feature, they have a text feature. So if you are able to do that. Now, if you do access these sites and ask for help, make sure you clear your history right away. You don't want those kind of problems. You need to cover your tracks. Be smart. If you're not able to do it, maybe you can, in a conversation, if you can text a friend, like, can you do this for me on your phone, and then delete that message.
Yeah.
Be real savvy with it. Be safe. I'm definitely praying for all the survivors around. There's also the Love is Respect. Got the text and chat for the teens, the hotline for adults. Because everyone, it's a lot, not everyone, but the majority of people are having financial challenges right now, not being able to work. So there's another website, if you're able to, again, to be safe, somebody looking over your shoulder, that just don't assume that people are not checking your history of the websites that you visit. Clear it. It's called purplepurse.com, and go to survivors. There's information there about safety planning around your finances and seeking work. So that's safety. And all of those websites, like, you could just do a Google search for domestic violence safety plan. So safety plan could even include, I need to get copies or upload and put it in my email or somewhere safe, Dropbox or something, my baby's vaccination records, my driver's license, my birth certificate. Maybe I need to get it to my mama, but I need copies of all these things, because when you decide to leave, do not go back, period. This is a lot of deaths, homicides happen this way. Oh, I forgot the baby, my mama's urn, I gotta go back for it. And then you go back, and this person is in an escalated state to the point that they want to control you, and now they're killing you.
Yeah.
A woman had called me one time and was like, I forgot my baby's breathing machine. I'm sorry, you can't go get it. She's like, oh, can the police go with me to go get it? Unfortunately, Detroit police don't have that kind of manpower to go back with you. They're not going back.
You're saying the truth.
Let's try to call a pharmacy or a program to try to get them another breathing machine. Because you don't need to go back. If you left, you took all your stuff, you left the baby breathing machine, we got to figure out something else. Don't go back.
Let me ask you something. One last question, is really strong question. In this work that you do, have you put yourself in any danger?
I have.
Because you try to help people.
I can admit it.
Yeah.
I have, and it's not, I wouldn't recommend it, but I have had survivors in my house.
Well, we understand why. We understand why.
Kids.
Yeah.
I'm a single mom with kids, and then a survivor who I worked with for a while is like, they have nowhere to go. They're literally on the street with their 2 kids. And I'm like, come. And it's been other situations like that. And I just think, for the grace of God, those aren't things that, in our work that we should be doing. It should be, they say we should keep professional and all that, but at the end of the day,
I don't know who wouldn't do it, though, so I'm not defending that it's not wrong, but I understand, because I couldn't do that either. And if you're doing that line, work, I can't see you closing your heart and leaving someone on the streets. So I definitely see what you're saying.
And I was real visible and out there and everything, and sometimes it would be in my head about, like, if somebody ever tried to do something to me, but God is good. God is good.
Yeah, because like you said, the predator would even look at you as the problem. You know what I mean? If we're trying to help and change the situations, that's why I asked. I knew you had to place yourself into some situations.
It's been a few times where it's been some victims that I've worked with where I've said, please don't tell your man I told you this. This is between us, because I don't need them kind of problems.
I know what you mean. But we want to thank you so much for coming on. As I said, we wanted you on, but there was a time, and this was the perfect time. Stay with us. Please don't get off with us.
Okay.
because we definitely want you to stay and hang around for a few more minutes. We're going to do a few things that we do to close out. Please keep doing the work that you do. Do not stop. Please. Please.
Feel free to call me anytime. I'd love to come back.
Please come back. Please. We want to make sure that now that they know that you're out, you're there. We know you're in Detroit, but now by way of St. Thomas, people still everywhere need this help and advice. Everywhere. Detroit has been blessed with you, but we want to share you with the world, and there are a lot of people. You heard Cherie say, I didn't even know Cherie's story, so you even brought out my friend's story because I didn't know. So that means that that means there are people. This is happening and has happened, and again, for our young people, please keep pushing this, because I think sometimes parents are forgetting what can be going on with their teenagers and what they need to look for. Again, we thank you for giving us the knowledge, sharing your story, and making sure that people out there know. And then we're going to give you a chance to give one more thought for sure. Quan.
What's going down?
Miss Cherie.
Yeah.
We got to do a call out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we do. We got to call him out. I mean, what have you done for me lately?
I'll just say this. Last time, I don't think you called out the right people.
Really? Tell me who I missed, because I'm like Madea. I want to call out everybody. Who is it?
I'll put it like this. They're not officials of the Chinese government, but those people in China who try to get Africans and African Americans kicked out of the country without law and supervision.
Oh, man. Quan, you always want to make me go at people. I'm trying to grow, Kalyn. Now, I have to watch my words and order my words, because I'm like Madea saying, I just bump off.
we got to call them out. No, here's the thing. Not every Chinese person is like this. But when you got people passing out brochures like they, is
this happening in China?
Jehovah's Witnesses. No. Yes. Amongst the COVID-19.
But do you think it's fear? Y'all know China and Japan. I can't do. They go ahead.
Because on one part of the paper, in their language, it said that they're blaming Africans for bringing COVID-19 to their country.
I'm gonna have to do some research on that. For sure, we're gonna research that, because my understanding is basically that it's something that did start in China, but I blame no one. Right now, I have my conspiracy thoughts. Y'all know I'm a conspiracy theorist, deep. But in general, I don't want to point fingers. I want to heal. I want us to heal this pandemic. I want us to be able to go back, and I know it'll never be the way we were, but I want us to grow from it and try to save as many lives as we can and move forward. So I pointing fingers is not going to heal anything, but calling people out, yeah. So I want to know when I'm calling them out that they deserve it, like Governor Brian Kemp.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Of Georgia. You deserve to be called out, because right now we know that this pandemic is still running fast and strong. If you don't have a cure, if you do not have, you don't even know if you haven't even, we have not had one scientist or anyone to say that you can't catch it again. So until we get answers, we need to be still and be patient. It's hard for everybody, but we need to sit still, because you can't get life back. So we calling him out. I'm calling him out. I'm calling all of these Republican governors in these southern states and in these states in Florida that are telling these people it's okay. And now you want to play them. You send them a check. And in Georgia, they tell them, like you come at African Americans as the people saying, well, you're ready to go get your nails done. I got a hat on, Kaylin, because I'm so gray. You get what I'm saying? I'm so gray. Until I got a cap on. I'm the one that would want to show my little hair. You know what I mean? I got the little curly stuff. I like it. Not just being funny too, but just saying I'll wear this hat or I'll gray. But I'm not going out there like unprotected till I know. Like you said, you got everyone knows someone who has lost someone, and we know that this is real. This stuff's not playing with us. So if we can't count on our elected officials to do the job that's designed to do, then we need to replace them. We need to replace them, and we need to start at the top. This is the one time I'm proud to call it a White House. Thank God we could say that. You know what I mean? Because y'all know what they was calling it when Obama was in office. That's not. See, Kaylin, that's why I'm like that. I start small and nobody really know me right now. Because, see, I can say stuff other people can't say, and ain't nothing nobody can do to me. They didn't tell you that part, Kaylin. So I hope we see eye to eye on that. That's why I'm just saying. I'm going to say what other people are too scared to say. So, because what you going to do? But now, this is the one time I take pride in calling it the White House. Because I know what they were calling it when Barack Obama was in office. Nobody ever said it. But one thing we know, he kept shouting, "Make America great again." Look how great we are. Look how great we are. Only thing good that's come out of it is all of us are gathered here and we're getting some positive work done. Quan.
Yeah.
Man, we done called him out. People know who you are now, Brian Kemp. I don't know how long. Hope not long. But in my bubble, my thought bubble, can't always have a thought. Now I'm hoping, and if there is a God and he's merciful and I know it is one, the same one that kept you safe, Kalyn, to do all that you did, I'm not asking him to hurt nobody. But I want him to lock them all up. So in my thought bubble, I see them in all orange jumpsuits. You know what I mean? On the phone trying to call somebody to get money on their books. Every one of these governors, I want 45 locked up. That's in a perfect world. For the lives that you guys are putting in danger. And 45 because you know it was a hoax. And this hoax has killed how many people? And had you even thought for a moment, you would not have let them have the Mardi Gras. If there were things that, and you got to, I say that because Louisiana hasn't looked at all the deaths. You know, so somewhere in there, somebody's going to have to hold and take account and be responsible and own what they've done. They never will, but we have to make them be accountable when this is over. And now they want to tell people, go out. Okay, well, y'all go ahead. Go on out. I'm going to stay in here and watch and see what happens. Go out. If you feel froggy, jump out. Cherie, why do you think they feel it's safe to go out? Or do you agree with someone like Governor Brian Kemp?
I, at this point, do not necessarily agree, even with his attempt to reopen. I think we've seen that it is not a hoax. It is real. There's no doctor that's encouraging this. In fact, the doctors that I listen to and have heard are suggesting quite the opposite. I also note that some of the businesses that he wants to reopen are not necessarily all of the same level of non-essentiality, or if that's such a word. For example, there has been a lot of talk about reopening the churches, which, you know, as a spiritual person, as a faithful person, I can understand in this very difficult time the need. It's more limited in terms of time of day, one exposure. But, you know, I'm not sure that getting my hair colored and getting my gray out of my hair is an essential need at this point. I understand the idea is to reopen the economy and let it flow. But that same thought process has led us to paying exorbitant prices and pitting states against each other for, you know, masks that the healthcare community are begging for, ventilators and everything else that we need to keep our community safe. 40 upwards of 40,000 deaths nationwide, and here in California, 15,000 impacted, 1,200 deaths. And also, as someone of the African American community, and aware that it is disproportionately impacting people of color, in particular African Americans, Native Americans, and now Latinos. So I would strongly urge those to do so with their conscience. I understand the financial push. We are, more than 22.5 million unemployed. Overwhelming, disappointing, depressing on some level, but that doesn't mean that we're to panic or that we're to make foolish decisions. I would encourage Brian Kemp, as the governor, to consult with people like the mayor of Atlanta, who have a different view and maybe a different concern than some of the more rural counties or communities that he governs. So I would strongly disagree with that approach at this time, and I don't see any medical community rallying forward to support that. So I like to live, so I'm going to follow the doctor's advice.
Yeah, Cherie, I do have a question for you on that level. Now, as much as we do know the numbers, as much as we are looking at the numbers are skewed, all these things about the numbers. There's still a higher recovery to death rate. We know that there's certain states out there, whether in the South, whether in the Midwest, that are still on the lower end of this virus, where even with Georgia, they only had 19,000 throughout the whole state that were affected, and they still had a higher recovery rate over death ratio. My question, even though I don't agree with Governor Brian Kemp on this, my question to you, just like I think there's a question out there that everyone is, and Kalyn, you can chime in on this as well, is do we use the states that have lower levels of this virus and who have shown consistent numbers of turning around, even their lower numbers, do we reopen them as a way to testing, seeing how this works?
No.
I think
Go ahead.
that makes sense. But I don't see any doctor saying we're ready to make that decision, and that's why I am not recommending it. I don't agree with it. I do think that he is subject to he basically is risking people's lives, and we don't know what the potential consequence of that. I'm also not aware of what level of resources that he's put into place. I understand there's still struggles to get the appropriate medical equipment and personnel who knows how to operate that equipment in the right places. I'm not confident from what I'm seeing and reviewing that has happened in any place. New York is certainly a center of medical science, as is Los Angeles, and I see very much more cautious approach by both mayors and governors of those states respectively. So I'm a little confused why we're ready at this point to open any businesses, and also why start with the nail salon and the church as opposed to maybe just the church, or every other weekend the church. So I just think that we have to really think more thoroughly out the consequences and the remedies that are available before we just say, let's open up the doors and see what flies in.
Yeah.
That's my thought process.
What about you, Kaylin?
Well, I completely agree, because so looking at Detroit and my friends and family, I'm so concerned about, and I lost 4 friends. And here, with the cruise ships were docked, they weren't allowed to come into the territory in St. Thomas, and they stopped the tourism travel, so you can't just come here and get a hotel room. And so we have 3 deaths here, so they might not seem like a lot, but I think it's only about 120,000 people among all 3 islands. So it's a very smaller population. And so what is the value of human life? Just to say, okay, well, you know, because everybody is being inconvenienced and can't get the hair done.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, you know, we could just throw away the seniors, the immune compromised, a child just passed. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, you have so many, the rate of black men that are dying from COVID, and it's just, you know, you have people, the prison systems are starting to be off the chain. You had 70 people in a nursing home die, and just like, oh well, you know, I need to go bowling into the movie theaters, so I'm gonna need y'all to open the town back up. It's ridiculous. It's so irresponsible.
Yeah, said well. That's the only reason Quan I screamed out no. And also, let me piggyback with Kalyn. When you say these southern states, they haven't even begun to hit the mark yet. That Sheree, you said that a while back. My mom is there. You know, she's in her 70s. It's not just that. It's a lot of things. You're not going to guinea pig the South, who we know don't have the equipment and stuff that they need. We already know they're inequipped, without a doubt. That they would have to fly them, you know, somewhere else, or, you know, I know this from experience. My mom liked to die recently. She had something simple they thought, which is gout, but not getting the proper care till she went over into Tennessee, into Memphis. And the doctor said, why did they never give you an arthritis specialist and a specialist to tell you your flesh is falling off of your bone? They have to hook her up now to a machine and draw the acid off of her. And this could have been prevented with just having a specialist. And by the grace of God, she's saved, where he was saying, we got you just in time. But my point is, she was begging to die. She was in so much pain. But my point is, no. If they can't even, when I left there, and you know what my goals were when I left, Kaylin, Sheree, Quan, to get proper health care, to have a proper job, you know, that paid well, and to grow. But in that, you would think over the years things have changed. They still can't get good health care. No, these are the worst places to do this. If you're going to do those studies, you're better off doing them here. New York, where you have more. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I understand we all want this to go away, sweetie. Quite I understand. And I know you being young, it's probably a little bit harder than us old fogey, Kaylin and stuff. We kind of like sitting at home. No,
but I asked the question because honestly, it's a real question.
Yeah, I know. I promise you, I believe that. I believe in your question.
And it's a question that, like I said, I don't agree with everything, but it is a legit question, because one of the reasons why we've been able to flatten the curve and do that is because it's been different states doing their part. But like I said, there's always been a few states out there, like I said, whether it's in the South, East, doesn't matter what region, that have not been picked. So that's why I asked the question, because those states, like I said, like Georgia and maybe a few others where, like I said, they only got 20,000 per state. Just think about that in the state alone of Georgia, that is probably maybe one of the top 10 biggest states in our state.
Yeah.
And the fact that only 20,000 throughout the whole state. What's about Atlanta?
We got you. Quan, I gotta move. We gotta move a little bit further. I'm not cutting you off, but we do gotta get Kalyn off here, and we gotta get going. I get what you're saying. I'm not cutting you off. The thing about it is, the reason that it's flattening, and I think a lot of people will agree, is because we started doing what they asked us to do, which was stay in and you know, wear a mask. We were following instructions, even in New York. Stay in, stay safe, as safe as you can being in with the show that we're doing now. But we still, the reason it's flattening, and if it's working, then let's let it work. And let these people figure out how we can really heal this country and this world again. Be patient. It will be greater later. But you won't know the great, not you. But the ones that will go out and die, you will not know the great. Because you won't be here to experience it. So if something's going to put my life at risk, and I see that, then I'm going to sit still. I'm going to just be still. You don't have to guinea pig anyone. We already know that self-distancing and all of these things are working. Now we need them, what they should be doing instead of trying to move the economy, move these doctors and scientists and these people and quit trying to hide the fact that you took the budget away. You took the budget away in 2018. And Obama asked and said what is going to happen when we have a pandemic. And sure enough, 5 years from when he said it, we have it. The proof is in the pudding. Now you're trying to do a quick fix on what you fucked up. And you playing with other people's lives. Guess what, Quan? They asked Trump to go somewhere. He hasn't went yet. He been sending Pence. Look, son, look at the playing field. If his ass ain't getting out, I sure in the hell ain't getting out. He ain't going nowhere. Okay, well, if he go down to Georgia, I tell you what, I'll say the shit. Take his ass down to Georgia. Let him walk his ass all around that mug. And walk all through everywhere. Get his nails done. Let somebody really do something to his hair.
He got to go to McDonald's.
Yes.
Go to Whataburger.
Everywhere.
He can't go.
Hang out for 2 weeks.
He can't go to Waffle House. He can't go to. He got to go to McDonald's. He got to go to KFC.
I want him to go hang out with all the people. Throw a party. He sponsor it. A barbecue. I want him to pass the blunt. Do everything. And then let's check this man in a month. But it's never gonna happen. Now if he do that, I'll be the first one to walk out and tell everybody, let's come on out, y'all. It's fine. Because it's never gonna happen. Watch your people when they're talking and watch what they do. And I keep telling you, stay focused. This is a ploy. Anyway, guys, it has been beautiful, wonderful, lovely. You guys always touch my heart. You keep me pushing, but keep me motivated. We have one more thing we do, Kalyn. We call it IGS Award, the IGS Nation Award. We give it to someone for doing something extraordinary, outstanding, and making sure that the people know that they are worthy. And because they have served somebody and made a difference. Now, it's funny because when I was wanting you on the show, I already knew I wanted to give you the award. So we gave it to Tamia and Deborah Cox when they did the Count on Me because we thought that was wonderful. It was a self-healing thing that was needed at the right time. On Easter, we gave it to the world because we knew that God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. So we just kind of find ways to inspire with it. But now, some kind of way, I got to get you an award in the mail. From I'm Just Saying. And now you're a part of the IJS Nation. And we are giving you the IJS Award. Okay? And this is an award of honor. So this is going to Miss Kaylin. We're going to make sure everything is spelled right. Risker Fahie. And we are definitely giving you the award, not just because you came on the show. The award is because you have earned it for the work and the job that you've done, because you have no idea yourself probably how many lives you have saved because they're saved, and that's what matters. Meaning that you were there, the program was there, and no one was harmed because of the work that you put in. So we thank you for being someone that recognizes how precious life is. And taking what you went through and not making it something to wallow in, but something to rise up to. So we thank you for rising up and answering when you were called and making sure that you made a difference in this world. So I don't care what anybody else tell you. Like Martin always say, if you could just say that you saved one person, to serve one person, then your living wasn't in vain. So you've already accomplished that. So keep pushing. So like I said, other than that, I want each one of you guys to say something positive. We like to end on a positive note. We'll make it quick, but say something positive to the people to keep them uplifted and motivated. Quan, always wait real quick. What is going on? Because we won't see these people until next Tuesday. What is going on in the world, in the hood? Real quick.
Everyone, stop hating off Teddy and Babyface. They broke records on their recent Instagram Live. Even coming very close up to 500,000 people.
Wow.
Watching live. So here's the thing. Their audio issues, and even Instagram had to come out and say this. Instagram was at fault with their audio issues during this battle on both nights.
Good job.
So don't ever doubt both of these talented, legendary musicians. definitely that. What else can I talk about? I can talk about tomorrow night. I'll be on Accelerated Radio, The Takeover. We got a huge show going down tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Tune in every Wednesday night. What else can I talk about real quick?
What's coming up? What's coming up?
What's coming up? Oh, goodness, there's so many things coming up. I will say this. Everyone, please pay attention. You have either been trying to get your Angelino card, or you've been trying to get your stimulus money. Pay attention. There's been a lot of people hitting it very recently. So pay attention to your accounts. You can do the advice of what Cherie Army Valley Cole said last time. If you have any account issues with former accounts you paid your taxes on, fix that right now. Because they could be depositing that money to the wrong account. And you probably ain't used that account in years, and that money is sitting there on a dead account. So get all that fixed, get all that lined up. Because, hey, we all need a beer.
I always had to cuss his ass out before the show is over with. Should we get the people something positive before I beat this boy ass?
We have some really great updates with our Get My Payment site. If you haven't gotten it, you can at least get online and update your bank information. So like Juan said, you won't get lost. But what I will say that while domestic violence is always a troubling subject, what I will say is that I have learned a lot about myself, and I thank our guest Kalyn for letting me share. And I hope that when I do take a bench and become a judge, that I won't forget these experiences and when I interact with the community. And so I just wanted to remind everyone that life is learning. So let's go out there and learn, and let's live it. And I too may be having a beverage or two this afternoon.
She's going to have a drink, Kaylin. So, Kaylin, what you want to tell the people before you let them go?
I just want everyone to be encouraged to have compassion for yourselves and for other people. Just continue to be encouraged. Check out the websites if you need help. Definitely call 911 if it's an emergency. But if you just want to ask a question or get some help for yourself or someone else, go to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, thehotline.org. That's 800-799-9233 is the phone number. And then the information for teenagers that might be dealing with intimate partner violence or relationship issues is loveisrespect.org.
Awesome.
And if you're looking for me, I'm also on social media, so you can look for me there too.
Don't run from us, Kaylin, because we have a tend to make people family, and we be searching for them. You know how we are. I would act like I really know you. I know her. I'm telling you, she was on the show. I know her. So don't act funny. I'm like, Kaylin, you don't remember me. But listen, again, thank all of you guys. Thank you, Kaylin, for allowing us to come into your life and into your home and in your time. And thank you for making the time for us. Cherie Annika Valley Code, the other side of my coin. Thank you. I don't know which side you are yet. You know, I'm the one that act up, so I'm gonna go and say you can be the head. I'm all right with that. So if they go down, I'm like, you need to talk to the head. Put the blame on. Quan, my play son, that I want to choke the hell out of all the time. I'm gonna let you go so you can have your drink and everything. And remember, show the card first, son. The card first. The card come first. We got to tell them, Kaylin, these young folks. Okay, Cherie is out. Guys, we're going to end it. I always like to end it with something beautiful. I'm going to hear a little bit of All Right. It's a young artist here in LA. Her name is Just Live. If you want to look up on SoundCloud, Kaylin, she's a beautiful singer. She sings with with Kanye West at his what do you call it, Quan and Kanye? You know, church.
It's a Sunday service.
Yes, it's Sunday service. You know, I knew what it was, Caleb. But it's Sunday service. But she has a beautiful voice. She just dropped her album, Just Live, and she was on our show recently. And she has a song called All Right. Check it out on SoundCloud. It's beautiful. And thank you again. And as soon as they open everything up, I'm gonna come over there on that island myself and walk the island, you know, and look around. So stay, yeah. But seriously, stay safe, stay blessed, and please keep up the good work. Please. Okay, because we need you out there doing that. Quan, we out. Kalyn, we out. Nothing but love for y'all. Everybody, like I said, I believe that knowledge is power. but love is everything. I'm just saying. Mike, take me home. Let Kaylin go. Cut her off so she can get her some rest. They're a little bit 3 hours ahead of us. We in Cali, it's still young. If I wasn't on lockdown, I could run outside and scream or two. Mike, let her go. Kaylin, make sure you check out Just Live on SoundCloud.
Song, and it's hot. Tell you the story of having not what you don't know, what you don't got till you need it. Scrambling for that dough, boy.
I love this song. Oh, I love this song. I just love people to know this. Right. Just sit still. It's alright.
I need to catch a break now. I gotta make a way somehow.
I love this song.
Oh, I gotta figure it out. Oh, help me, Lord. Take you to a city where the budget is tight and you can pay a condo or you can keep on your life. She chose the ladder, so she gotta wake up early at 5. Ride 3 buses for an hour to a job she don't like, and she's tired. This shit ain't right. This can't be life, but she's alright. Yeah, alright. Walk you through a neighborhood where children survive. Ain't got no daddy at home, and mom be working at night. Look up to homie round the corner, said he's living the life. You can be a baller too if you just slang a few dimes. So you try that gangster life. Too young to die, but he's alright. He's alright. I need to catch a break. Soon now. I gotta make a way somehow. Right away. Oh, I gotta figure it out. Oh, help me, Lord. Tell you about a brother, middle child out of 5. Big brother, pop had the road, killing himself to provide. Now he's a father to his nephews and his nieces. He cries to be a husband to 2 widows and still live his own life as he strives to keep his dreams alive. His art is life, but he's alright, alright. Young sister of color in the prime of her life. Somehow she found her way home. The walls came in late at night, and she just wants to be alone so she can exhale and ride. Buying solace on the balcony beneath the moonlight as she rides. She's free behind the margin lines, and she's alright. Alright. I need to catch a break. Soon now. I gotta make a way somehow. Right away. Oh, I gotta figure it out. Oh, help me, Lord. Precious song, and it's hot. Tell you the story of having not what you don't know, what you don't got till you need
This is a
it.
beautiful song. It's alright.